All right, welcome back. So we're going to be making a histogram now. Pretty cool. We've got the same data that we worked with before. It's the age of various people in the U.S. government. So nothing new there. We kind of already have an idea of what we're working with. And we want to determine sort of what the shape of the data looked like. Right? It can tell us a little bit more of the story of our data. So what do we do first? Well, the first thing we want to do is determine the number of bins we want to use. Totally subjective, totally arbitrary on how you figure out, how many bins you want. Sometimes it will take a couple of tries to get a good looking figure. In this case, I'll just say that maybe we could try using 5 bins. Let's try using 5 bins. Okay, so that's going to be 5 ranges of values of equal lengths. Okay, so how do we go about figuring out how wide those ranges will be? Okay, so it's pretty simple. I promise it's pretty simple. All you want to do is take your largest value, and subtract the smallest value, and then divide by the number of bins you want. The number of bins. And that's your formula, okay, for this. If you're a formula kind of person, there it is, right? So to determine the range of values, right, to determine what values are included, that's it. Take your largest value, subtract the smallest value, and divide it by how many bins you want. How many bins you want to include. There's no special number. There are some formulas, to that kind of gets the most optimal amount of bins, but we're not going to worry about it. Totally up to you. Okay, so in this case, let's see. Let me write this over here. Since our maximum value is 86, and our smallest value is 30, and we want to divide that by, we want 5 bins, so we'll divide that by 5. Okay, so get out your trusty, dusty calculator and figure that out real quick. In that case, it's 11.2. Okay, well, 11.2 is not an easy number to work with. It's very difficult. And so if you recall, if you're thinking, okay, well, in my last math class, something like this, if we want to round it down to a whole number, or if we want to round it to a whole number, in this case, we would round it down, right? Well, hold on. In the case of statistics, and in this specific case, when we're making histograms, what we want to do, we actually want to round up. Always round up. If you get some decimal point, you always round up to the next whole number. So always round up. Always round up. Okay. So now our range of values are going to be 12 values long. Okay, or 12 values wide. Okay. So I've got this little thing over here. Looks like a cross. But this is going to be very helpful, I think, when we get into the actual making of the histogram. It keeps things very organized. Okay, so in this first column here, I'm gonna put the bins, the range of values that we're gonna have in our histogram. Okay, so we start with our smallest, right, and then all we want to do is add 12 to that. Okay, so it helps to have a calculator to keep track of things. Sometimes the math is easy, but honestly, the calculator makes it even easier. So all we want to do is add 12 to this. Okay, so that's going to be 42. Okay, and then you might think, and it's okay, so we've got 42 here. We got 42 here, so it's going to be 43 next. Well, unfortunately, another kind of weird thing about making histograms is that what this represents here is age 30 up to age 42, but not including age 42, okay? Not including, up until that, but not exactly that, okay? So the next range of values is going to be 42, and then we just add 12 to that, so that's 54, okay? And then, so that's 42 up to 54, but not including 54, okay? And then the next one is 54, add 12, that's 66, okay? Not including 66, but it's up to 66, okay? And then we've got 66 here, add 14, oh no, not add 14, add 12, sorry. Okay, so we're going to add 12, so that's going to be 78, okay? Not including 78, and then the next bin, the last bin will be 78 plus 12, which is 90, okay? So these are the ranges of values that we're going to be using to count. See how many times one of these values occur, okay? So what goes in the next column? Well, it's just going to be our frequency. It's just going to be our frequency, or how often or how frequent one of these values over here falls into one of these ranges, okay? So from 30 to 42, but not including 42, I believe we only have one, okay? So we only have one, all right? And then 42 to 54, but not including 54, is, let's see, so we've got 1, and then, looks like that's it. So another 1, okay? And then 54 to 66, but not including 66. You're gonna hate me for saying this so much, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page here, it looks like there's only 1, right? So that's 55. So 55 falls between 54 and 66, and then 66, and then to 78, but not including 78. Okay, so it looks like we're looking for 66 to 78, but not including 78. Looks like it's also, let me see here, 72, so that's 2. Okay, and then the next thing we can do, we can either add all these up, and then whatever the difference is, we know that there's 8 total, we can just subtract, but it's better to count, I think. So we've got 78 here, and then 86, and I believe that's it. So that's 3, that happens 3 times. And just to double check, the sum of all the frequencies should be the number of data points we have, which is 8 in this case. And it looks like that's 3, and that's 2 and 3, so that's 8. That's good. That's all sweet. Okay, cool. So then, what we want to do is label our figure, and I've got the figure over here. Okay, so on our x-axis is going to be our age. It's going to be our age in years. Okay, very, very important to put the units on there. Okay, so to label this, the first tick mark is going to be 30, and then 42. Okay, and I'm just getting that from over here, right? 30 to 42, right? And then 42, we don't need to write that again because the next one is 54. And then it's going to be, let's see, 66, 78, and then 90. Okay. And then what's on our y-axis? Well, it's just the frequency. Just the frequency. So you can kind of think of this over here as our x and our y coordinates. Sort of. Just to kind of go back to your time in algebra, which, so sorry you had to do that. Okay, so then we're just going to label these. Good Lord. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so something happens 1 time, something happens 2 times, etc., etc. Okay, so from 30 to 42, but not including 42, it only happens 1 time. So we're just we can put a dot here in the middle, right? or we can just go ahead and put our bin, right? Our bar. And then 42 to 54, that only happens one time as well. So we'll draw it like that. Okay, that's cool. 54 to 66 also only happens one time. Okay. And then 66 to 78 happens twice. So we'll come up here and then over and then back over. Okay. And then 78 to 90 happens 3 times. Good Lord. A lot of old people. All right. And then come up and over and then that. Okay. So let me zoom this in just a little bit. Not like that. Sorry. Okay. So we've got our frequency on the y-axis, our age, the ranges of age on the x-axis, and then we've drawn our histogram, and that's pretty much that. So let's see. What I again recommend you do, pretty much every time you're doing this, is to kind of draw this smooth as best you can. Okay. And there's no need to go back over here or whatever, because we don't have data over there. We don't know what the data looks like, okay? So in this case, actually, let me draw this just a little bit better so we can see the shape. Yeah, there we go. Much better. Okay, so recall, we've got some adjectives we can use to describe these data, okay? It's got one mode, it's got one peak, so that's fine. But what else? Well, it's not symmetric. We can't divide this equally in half and get 2 identical halves. It's not bell-shaped, right? So we're kind of left with skewed, right? It's skewed in some kind of way, which in this case, it is skewed to, oh, you're going to hate this, and I hate it too. It's skewed to the left, okay? It's skewed left. So we got something over here in the left of the field that's pushing everything away from it, okay? So what we would say here is that I'm going to write it out too as best as I can. Let's see, where can I put this? Okay, we'll just say over here. Let's see, the distribution of ages in U.S. government, GOVT, short for government, is skewed left. Skewed left. Okay, very important that we get that. Okay, so what I recommend is that you pause the video and try this yourself. Even if you think that it's stupid because we're going to get the same thing, that's fine. That's fine, because you will be asked to do this on a test, on homeworks, that kind of stuff, and I want to make sure that you've got it right. Especially being online, kind of difficult to make sure that we're all on the same page. So I care a lot that you get this. So go ahead and pause it. You can also, after you're done trying this with 5 bins, maybe try 4 bins and see what happens. You might get some interesting stuff. Or try the other way. Maybe try more bins, see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and we'll get into the next type of figure.